Hi guys, this is going to be an intro into Synchro 9. Synchro 9 is a traffic simulation and modeling network that companies use so that they can build networks of multiple intersections, do level of service analysis, queuing analysis, and look at traffic for future plus their project, AM existing, PM existing, etc. So let's get started. Let's create a new file. Go ahead and save it as whatever you need, but I'll be saving it as test1. And then in your scenario manager, you're going to input the description. It's usually the project title, what it is you're analyzing. This will be different per your company or your project, but I'm going to put Del Rio Retail because that was one of the projects I worked on. And the alternative, this is usually where you're going to label what it is you're actually modeling and analyzing. This one, I'm going to call it the existing AM peak hour volumes. All right. These are all the tools we're going to be using up here for Synchro. Just for the sake of this video, we're only going to be focusing on these blacked out ones right here. This is where you're going to do lane settings, volume settings, phase settings, timing settings. You're also going to be using these right here. These are where you're going to add your links, adding your nodes. It's also good to point that you're going to be doing level of service analysis, and we're going to be using sim traffic to do queuing analysis and traffic of the intersections. All right, so let's create an intersection. To do that, we're going to go under here to add a link. You're going to click that, and you're going to do a click on your screen. And to add an intersection, you're going to do another link that intersects the one you just created. So this is our intersection. This right here is your node. The node represents an intersection, and these are your links. Links are a point between two nodes. So there's a node right here and a node right there. So this is a link. A link also, if we look at it on the roadway, is the point between two intersections. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start adding some information to this intersection. To do that, you can click on the node and you're going to go up here to lane settings. If you click it once, it's going to pop up like this, but if you click it again, it shows that same information but with your network available, so you can see all the changes you're making. So on your lane settings, you can change things like lanes, basically it's your lane configurations, your traffic, your future volumes, street name, the link distance, speed, travel times, grades, lane widths, curb radius, all this fun stuff. But we're just going to focus on the top view right here. So we're going to go through and add all of our lane configurations for these links. So let's just assume that each link has one left, one through, and one right. We're going to do that for all of the links. And a quick key to go through each of these instead of clicking this and then clicking this is just to hit tab. Tab will shift through them. All right. Now that we've put in our lane configurations, you can zoom in a little bit more just to see. Again, this was just an example of what the lane configurations typically are, but you need to make sure that they reflect whatever intersection it is you're actually analyzing, because some may have more than one left turn lane, some may have a through and a through right. But just make sure that they reflect what it is. But for right now, this is fine. So let's now input some volumes. So you're going to go back again to lane settings. And for this leg of the intersection, make sure you're putting the inbound traffic volume. I had labeled this file as my existing AM peak hour volumes. So when I'm putting in my volumes, I want to make sure I'm putting the existing AM peak hour volumes. So I'm going to put some arbitrary numbers here. All right, so now we have our volumes and our lanes set for this intersection. Now you can go ahead and maybe start running analysis, but let's go ahead and add another intersection. So to do that, we're going to add another link. To do that, just do the same thing we did before and add one more. So here it is, you got another node in here. You can move this node so that if you want to extend, move it around, whatever. I'm going to extend it a little bit. I guess I can't. All right. I'm going to actually delete these links. Let's escape. I'm going to delete that node. I'm going to move this one a little bit more out, and then I'm going to add my link to create an intersection. All right. Now let's just change lane settings. Let's change it again so that it reflects what we want. All right, and let's give it some volumes. All right, so now we have a network with two intersections and all of our volumes are put in. Now the next thing to do is you're going to want to figure out your signal phasing or your turn movements. To do that, let's click on our link and go to timing settings. Here you can change very specific timings between your phases, but like I said, those are all going to be pertinent for your project and what it is that you're looking at. What's more important is to select the turn type. You can have a split, permitted, protected, permitted and protective, and all different types of turn types for your left turn. The most common that we see are protected, which are red, green, or yellow left turn arrows, which means you have to only turn on those arrows. So we'll go ahead and change each of those links to reflect a protected left turn lane. And so each of our legs of the intersections are saying that the left turn is protected and the right turn is permitted or permissive. All right, so we have all that down. So we got our lane configurations, we have our volumes, we have our turning phasing, so we're ready to go and do some analysis. So let's first find our level of service for each of these intersections. Oh, sorry, my bad. Before we begin, let's give some labels to these streets. I'm gonna call this Del Rio Road. This can be the US 101. These are streets in Atascadero that I used for one of my projects. All right, so we got the names in. Let's also change the node numbers. To do that, you can go to lane settings and click on the node, and you notice it's node 3. Let's just call it node 1 to make it more easier for us as intersection 1. And you're going to want to say yes. Now let's do the same for the second one. So that's node 2, that's fine. All right, so we got both of our intersections down. So let's find the level of service. To do that, we're going to go to File, Create Report. And here are all the input and outputs for your report. You want to make sure that you're choosing the correct highway capacity manual, if it's a signalized, an all-way stop, a two-way stop control, whether your project is using the highway capacity manual 2000 or 2010. So we're going to be using 2010 signalized. You can do it for very specific intersections, or you can do it for the entire network, which includes all the intersections. So like if I wanted to just do it for intersection 1 or 2, I could do that, but we're not going to. We're going to do it for the entire network. And here are the data that's going to output to us. A lot of the stuff is not necessary. You only want lane outputs, inputs, outputs, all that stuff. Now we're going to do preview. And here's our information. So this is the information right here for intersection 1, the US 101 and Del Rio Road. It tells us our lane configurations, our traffic volumes. Feature volumes would be different if we had input that, turning types, and all that. It also tells us the LOS for each of the approaches, each of the legs of the intersection, and the delays. That all is not as necessary as the next page, which tells you the delays, which is 20.2 seconds, and it tells you the overall intersection level of service is a C. If you continue down, it'll tell you the same things for intersection number 2, El Camino Real and Del Rio Road. This one, our level of service is a B with a 16.1 second delay. So these are the kind of information you look at and see what it is you need for your project. Let's go back, cancel. All right, so now that we've got that, now we can go to sim traffic and we can find queuing. To do that, let's go under sim traffic animation. Yes. All right, and here is a model of our network with a couple cars going through. It shows all of our signal phasings, and it has the input of the volumes and everything. You could look here and see if there's anything that looks wrong, then you go and change it before doing any of your analysis. But everything looks right, so we can go ahead and start to do queuing. To do that, we're going to go to File, Create Report. We want a simulation summary and a queuing information, because that's what we're looking for. We want it for the entire network. We want it for the intersection movement, and we want multiple runs. Multiple runs ensures statistically that you're getting the more accurate representation of the simulations. And we're going to click record now. I chose 10 runs. You can do however many you want. The more the better. But let's go ahead and run these. Delete files. So now it's going through each of these runs and collecting data from the queuing and all that. Now that it's done, we can now find the report. So I'm going to go to File, Create Report again. This time instead we're going to preview. You want to select test 1 of 1 to 1 of 10 because it's going to gather the information from all 10 runs. I'm going to do open, and it'll tell you a summary of everything. All this stuff initially is not relevant. What you want is the queuing and blocking report for both intersections. So it'll tell you the max queue, average queue, the 95th percentile queue, the link distance for each leg for each intersection. Most companies use the 95th percentile queue when they're doing their analysis, and they check that with the link distance to see if the queue is bigger than the available storage for those cars. It looks like it's not a problem for either of the intersections, but it would be different based on volumes and based on the link distances that you give. So this is what you would look at and make any judgments. All right, so we can go back, cancel. We can exit out of sim traffic, and we're back at Synchro. So this is a very basic introduction. You can input Google Maps and overlay your links and your nodes, your roadways right over Google Maps so that you're making sure it's correctly aligned. And this can be bigger. The network can be much bigger with up to 10 intersections. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.